This is the peace wall.
Growing up, there was always a lot of sectarianism and antisocial behaviour around the interface, so I always knew to stay away.
Peace is not keeping people apart. Peace is people being able to have differences and come together anyway.
Up at the camera, please.
The deadline for them all to come down was this year, but it wasn't realistic. It could risk a return to violence.
I really don't know what we're going to say. You might scare them off.
It's an extremely slow process. It's not the physical taking out of the bricks. It's the change in people's minds.
So we're just going to head up through the city centre to the Peace Wall on Bishop Street, which is the interface area of Bishop Street and the fountain.
From the very beginning, we've been trying to get residents together. You have to kind of do it in a quite clever way. There's about 300 residents in the fountain here, and between Craigan, Bogside, Brandywell, there is in total 17,000 people. So women in both communities had everyday conversations about what it was like to live in conflict zones, and the words are now displayed on the wall, obviously anonymously, because things are still contentious and we don't want to put any of our residents at risk.
I know you're trying to hide. Get down here. Come on.
Good
Come
try,
on.
Anne.
Get down there. Come on.
I know, I have to look my best.
So this is Protestant and Catholic together, but it's no barriers.
Yep.
What connects us is our friendship and our humanity, and we don't need walls when we hold each other up, and that's very powerful, isn't it?
Completely. And the women who were meeting together in this are such good friends and such close friends. The history that some of them have gone through is unbelievable. And out of it came these.
Brilliant.
I'm working with Kyra and Rachel.
Because while we want to take the peace walls down, they were put up 50 years ago for a reason.
Yeah.
And that community conflict for 25 years doesn't just disappear, it takes a generation or two. I mean, the programme is about people making contact with each other, because relationship is what dismantles prejudice.
It did affect a lot of people. We had to put shutters up in our windows because we were throwing nail bombs. But we still went on, and I know my mother used to say, just be careful.
You always have your memories,
Yes.
you know, of what did go on.
Yeah.
You know, and we just want the good memories now for our own family and the young ones now coming up, you know.
It's a different world. His life before he could take someone else's. I've never forgotten that. The fuck? That's fucked up.
This is a celebration today of these women's bravery, really. When you hear the women tell their stories, if you didn't know them, you'd think they were almost over it. But when you sit with them for a wee while longer and they go deeper into it, you can see that the scars are still there. Some of these women have lost family members in the Troubles, and in their own words, it was like a therapy session. You were all so brave. It's a big thing. It's a big thing to tell your stories. I just want to thank everybody that took part in it.
Everybody has a story to tell, and I mean, I'm from the Protestant community. Yes.
I'm a Catholic.
And I live in the fountain. Mary just lives on the other side of the wall, and we never knew one another of different religions, but we all had the same experiences. We all suffered the same, went through the same, and then we ended up friends.
We thought it was normal growing up, but when you sit as an adult, older, and have grandchildren, and you think, did our parents really let us grow up? But to me, it was normal growing up.
I suppose there's still that fear and mistrust in terms of the fountain, because it is viewed by residents that they're the only ones kind of survived this side of the foil, and I suppose there is still some of that like siege mentality and fear. You can understand that as a minority, and when you're doing peace building, it's really important to do that at a pace that the communities want, and if they're not ready, they're not ready, and pushing it in spite of that, it would just increase the fear again.
It's a poor looking place to live. You have to admit it yourself. You know, it's if you get into it, it's not too bad. But looking from the angle that most tourists look at it, they think it's like something out of Aleppo. That's a lack of investment by the British government. It's just starting to sound like Sinn Féin. I mean, but seriously, they refuse to put money into this area, saying they will disappear too, like the rest of them, and we will then be able to reinvest in. But the people stayed, and the investment never came. We're looking for those older people to be role models for some of the younger people, especially the late teens and early 20s, who are starting to drift back to this notion of, oh, the troubles were fantastic, look what we missed out on. You know, sometimes it took us 3 and 4 hours to get home from school with bomb scares and stuff, and for younger people now they think that that's some sort of film, or that there was something glamorous about it. Like, trying to get that across can be difficult at times. Maybe if we were listening to 2 groups of people from 2 different sides of the fence saying the same thing, then maybe that would impart it a wee bit better. I've grown up all through the troubles, so I feel it's our responsibility to sort of try and fix things before we're no longer here.
I never met a Protestant that I knew of until I started working, which is actually a wee bit embarrassing to say, like, now when I think about it. And I was always told as a child, you know, you're not allowed to go on the fountain. Don't feel like that now, I'm in and out of it. I don't want my children growing up with those sort of perceptions that I did. I don't even think my children know what a Catholic or Protestant is. We're going down now to Reagan, which is seen as very, very Republican. This project is called Who Do You Think You Are? And it gave residents the opportunity to look back at their family tree. We looked at it as, well, are you Catholic or Protestant? Somewhere down your family tree, most families have somebody related to them from the opposite religion. People end up doing their family tree and realise they're related to somebody from the other religion.
That's right.
Do you know, would you come across that a lot when you're doing these?
You know, it's mixed in my family, you know, and I think in the experience of most people here, it was quite mixed as well, you know, so...
You see, my stepfather was he was English, but he changed for my mother, and he always said to us, no matter what religion you are, you're just as good, they're just as good as you, so don't think you're any better.
It's not my fault I'm a Protestant.
No, it's not.
No, but I mean this, you're born under that
That's
religion,
right,
and you're reared in
you
that
just respect
religion.
everybody else. If somebody met for love and a different religion,
I
and
know.
the whole family goes against him,
That's
I think it's
exactly.
sad. It's sad.
Well,
It's
half
religion's
ours.
got a lot to do with it.
Half our family's all mixed.
Mine's the
Right,
same
mine.
too. It's one of the quotes on the wall said yesterday, you're not born sectarian, more you're not born with hatred,
No.
you know what I mean? You get it from somewhere.
You get it from somewhere.
Cost of living crisis does impact peace building in the sense that it can be good, from the perspective that people recognise that they're all in the same boat. On the other hand, some people approach that with an agenda. A lot of paramilitary activity has moved towards drugs and money lenders and things like that. It has been shown that a lot of young people have been paid or have had their debts reduced by paramilitaries for going out and being on the interfaces, rioting. There's always vultures, there's always people who are willing to capitalise on people's pain.
It's all organic food, and we deliver this on a regular basis for the social supermarket. We're just bringing it on here now.
This is where we run our social supermarket. Coming out of COVID, we realised there was a lot of poverty within the area and people really struggling.
Because of the cost of living crisis, the deprivation and the unemployment, we don't want our young people getting sucked into that vacuum of the antisocial behaviour or the sectarianism.
All right, bye. See you later. Bye. Is this Jim and Jerry?
Front line.
Jerry likes to think he's the hardest worker, don't you, Jerry? Am I joking?
Would you rephrase that, please?
They do a lot of things. They cut grass, power hosing, painting, building furniture, fixing a coffee van.
Regularly fixing the coffee van?
They would do anything that generally makes the area look better, but they would remove graffiti as well from the area. Sometimes it's not an easy job.
We have been threatened in the past and we have been, intimidated to such an extent that there are some areas where graffiti's been put up and we just won't touch it, because at the end of the day we all live in the area, we have families as well,
Then we've got the Free Derry coffee van. We have a group of about 20 volunteers. It's providing employment for them. They're getting different training.
Can I have a nice coffee, please? I know, but do you want any syrup or? Growing up, I wasn't really told that there was any difference between a Protestant or a Catholic, so I wasn't really in that mind space. Obviously, there was stuff around you, but from my family background, myself, I was always told not to kind of see anyone differently. And now that I've went to uni, I'm studying politics, so I'm kind of mixing with every background, and I don't really hold a prejudice in anyone. It is difficult with older generations. Feeding the younger generations, they kind of hate the other side. With anyone, it doesn't matter if it's Catholic or Protestant or anything else, you're always going to have conflict with someone for some reason. It all goes down to people's mindsets, who wants to work and who doesn't want to work.
This is the first step. It's exciting. Men have often been the ones returning to violence or keeping that division going.
I really don't know what we're going to say.
We're going to ask them what they want to do and explain that we've found it hard to engage men in the past. And
I don't know, should we mention that today?
I already did.
Oh, did you? I was going to say might scare them off.
Oh.
Do you know you are when you aren't getting away? That's going to be gated by use. What you want to do?
Woodwork or electrical work even?
Electrical.
All we're talking about is a brick wall, but the symbolism is a lot more than that.